Hello everyone, my name is Michael Albarracin and I teach middle school band in Marshalltown. Today my talk is going to be about assessments, particularly for music education. Now assessments are a critical component to the learning process. As any teacher would tell you, the most effective assessments not only tell students what they've achieved, but also help guide their learning. It shows their next steps. So it takes students coming into our classrooms and leaving. Instead of coming to us, leaving feeling like this, they'll leave the classroom feeling more confident and motivated for the next step. So in my band program, I have over 140 students in my class, and a few weeks ago I figured out I have just over 2 minutes to devote to each individual child in my program once every 6 school days. So you can imagine it's a huge challenge for me to not only assess them individually, but then also give them the next steps in their learning. So out there, Make Music came out with a product called Smart Music. The product is fairly intuitive. I assign students assignments, they go along with the computer, and the computer gives them the direct feedback on their achievement skills, right notes, wrong rhythms. If they have a question on what buttons to push for their instruments, on how something goes, the computer can tell them the fingerings. It also has a feature that it'll put a piano recording along with them so that the student can listen to how their individual parts go, as well as in context with the whole ensemble. So this is a picture of a couple of my students using the iPads. Last year at Miller, we implemented them, and it works great. It helped solve one problem, the assessment piece. Unfortunately, what's still missing is that individual contact time, because as I said before, I still only have just over 2 minutes to devote to each child. So the technology is helping with the assessment part. I can assess them, but now I've got to think of a new way in how am I going to actually teach them all and increase that contact time within the confines that I have of my schedule. So this year, I am conducting an experiment. I'm doing something completely different with the technology. So when you walk into my classroom, you'll notice 3 parts. The first 2 parts are very standard of any band program across the country. You walk in, the students are in their seats, the teacher is centered at the front, and it's more of a lecture style format. The teacher says, the students do, and it's just back and forth. That's the first 2 parts, and that lasts about 10 minutes. The second part is where things get a lot more exciting for us, and this is where I'm already starting to notice changes within my students' own behavior. So what I did was I took a leaf from my child's kindergarten classroom setup. I set up learning stations. So what I did was, in the one practice room that I have in the room, I set up iPads in that station, and what I do is I send students individually out to work on certain parts of the assignment. So instead of everybody's in class all at the same time, and let's say the clarinets are working on a part of music and they're messing up and they need help, normally what would happen before, everyone has to sit quietly while I work with just the clarinets. And if you imagine 70 pre-teenagers, those percussionists back there with the drumsticks, they get a little antsy. So now what happens is, instead of the clarinets having my full divided attention, everyone else getting ignored, I send them off with an assignment and they get practice against the computer. The computer gives them the feedback of what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and how to improve. And in my second station, in my office, what I did was I set up iPads there as a learning station for teaching assistants. So I myself, I'm only one teacher for 140 students. I have to figure out a way to get my beginners more contact time so that they're guided in what they're doing. So I started tagging my students. The students know a lot of them have already passed off the same assignments that the beginners are struggling with. And now with the use of the iPad and this technology, they have confirmation bias. So the student that's learning gets that feedback both from the student that's working with them and the computer at the same time. So that student that's serving as the teaching assistant gets confirmation bias. They're like, yep, I do know this stuff after all. And then they start coaching the younger one. And I'm already, within a short span of time, seeing how that's starting to transform. The kids are more engaged, they're more helpful, and they're actively telling me, hey, so-and-so is really struggling with this, Mr. A. Can I pull them aside for a quick lesson? Yep, let's do that. Let's figure out a way to make that happen. And so I'm using this technology. First, it helps solve my assessment problem. I can now assess all of my students accurately and tell where they are on their skills. And I'm taking it a step further to use it to train my next generation of leaders as they're helping other students. And so I'm very excited for what the possibilities are for the school year, for what it holds for us, and we'll see what happens next. Thank you.